All right. You guys are live.
I had to remember to unmute. Okay.
Moment, sorry.
Just let me know when we're ready. And I have the agenda if here, if we want to see everybody's faces.
Yeah, we're ready to go when you guys are. So
Okay, let's do it.
Mayor, you can kick us off with the agenda and I'll just pull it up after you do public comment. And
Okay. Welcome everybody to the Dix Leadership Committee meeting on December 15th. I'm calling the meeting to order. And the first item of business is public comment. Do we have anybody here who would like to speak?
looks like we have a couple folks here. So I'll start with Doug Johnson. Please unmute yourself. And
If Mr. Johnson wasn't here, I would be very disappointed. Good morning.
Well, that's very kind of you. You know, I've noticed the topic of the day is downtown South, and so I'm sending Kate an item for you that connects the matter with Dix Park. It seems to me the proposal at the scale and build out period of the one Kane is proposing, if it's coordinated with appropriately, can be very much to Dix Park's advantage. And I hadn't heard much discussion about that. I think it could well be a model for a lot of important decisions that have to be made about future growth around the park. So I hope you'll have a moment to look at what I sent. Thanks. And keep up the great work, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
and then we have,
next?
there's not a last name, but Bill. Bill, please unmute yourself.
Could we have your name and address, please?
Sure, Bill Paget, 1213 Dixie Trail. First of all, just happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone. I think this is your last meeting. Just wanted to say last night I went through the light show out at Dix Park. It was just a very rewarding and fantastic experience. Quite a transition. But I think the most important thing was that at the end, it was truly a transition, because as we left, the last thing there was the healing transitions. And about 15 of the folks that were there were out on the street, somewhat decorated with Christmas hats and waving and good cheer. And it was just warming to the heart. So thanks everyone that worked so hard to put all this together. It's a great way to start a very a good new year and a very hard year it's been. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments.
All right. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to make public comment? Please choose the raise hand button now. Does not look like there's anyone else. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, we have welcome and approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Mayor Baldwin, this is David Smith. I move to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
It's Nancy, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. The second item is not on the agenda, but I wanted to make an ask of staff, and also looking to see if Corey Branch is on the call. Okay, he told me yesterday he would be. I will follow up with him on this, but I'm going to ask staff if they would, going forward, do a synopsis of this meeting and send it to the full city council in the city manager's report. That way, I've been informing council members, but I think that's a more formal way for us to keep them in the loop and let them know what we're doing. Tansy, can you take the lead on that?
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Just for context, for those that don't watch this, the staff prepares every Friday a letter that goes to all members of the council with follow-up questions to council members and other staff updates about important activity. So we're happy to work with the Dix staff to make sure that there's the Fridays following these meetings, an update about the key points of discussion. Thank
Okay.
you for the suggestion.
Okay, thank you. The second item I have, Corey Branch, who also sits on this committee, he is in charge of, he is leading our retreat efforts this year for City Council, along with Jonathan Melton and Patrick Buffkin. I have talked to Corey about having a discussion about the Parks Bond and the Dix Park Bond at our retreat. And I would like members of the Conservancy to join us. That might be virtual. It might be socially distanced in person with just a few people. But I just want to get that on everybody's calendar. Our plan is to meet in February. Much of the work on the Parks Bond has already been done. It was done last year. As you know, we couldn't move forward with that. But I think we can tweak the plan, revisit, take a look at that. I think we're ready to go. We just need to start moving this forward after our retreat in February. So that's the timeline. So I just want everybody to be aware of that it would be coming up on our retreat in February. Okay. The next item we have is the
Mary Ann, can I just ask real quick, are you going to kind of do the Friday, Saturday thing again, or have you decided?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't know if it's going to be in person, if it will be virtual. They're going to be working out those details. Corey's committee will be meeting with staff after, between Christmas and New Year's to start planning for that.
Okay, thanks.
We'll keep everybody informed.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Next, we have the community committee report with Shauna Overdorf.
Thank you,
Turn
Mayor.
it over to you.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good
I
morning.
just wrote down a few points because I wanted to keep it succinct. Many of you know that I can be long-winded. So I thought, it would be good just to let you all know how I came to be the vice chair. So there was an election process after the nominations came in for the community committee for chair and vice chair, but it was such a close race that there were three of us that were just separated by a couple votes each. And so two of us were returning because we had served on the master plan committee. So Jay Kumar and myself, and then Eric Regensberger was new to the committee, and we advocated that he join in a capacity. So we have brought him on to be the secretary. He's working with staff on that. So we're really grateful for Nick and Kate and Trey from the Conservancy, who's really kind of helped us evolve that leadership potential. So it didn't look like it was just the returning people taking any type of leadership, but trying to be inclusive and all. Serve as a 3-year term or an appointment. So that's very exciting. And really what I envision is kind of what the mayor just said is I want to be the liaison. And I think that both Jay and Eric will have time at this meeting as well, just so that they can have some FaceTime with all of you. And that we want to liaise between this group and the community committee and to advocate for the staff as much as we possibly can. Mr. Johnson has already emailed us information that he wanted to share. And so we've been fielding things like that to help the team. And a couple of ways I wanted to share that the community committee has been involved has been with historic signage with the text review. 4 of the members were asked to review the text for upcoming signage at the property. And then Charles Furneaux with United Arts Council, myself served with the Arts Commission, Conservancy staff, and City Park staff to review about 30 artists. And Sean was there too. Sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to leave you out. And happy almost birthday. And it was amazing. There were about 30 applicants that submitted, and we went through 2 rounds of submissions and stipends and conversations and that sort of thing. And we've selected Christopher Holt. So I know that there was a SurveyMonkey link sent from the Conservancy out for input on the artistic direction. And we're just waiting to get that compiled and back in. So the committee is trying to create task force as well, with equity being a lens across every task force. And once we have that, I'll be happy to share that information with you all.
Great, thank you. Okay, next we have an update from staff on the project. First, nice lights, which I want to thank everybody again for the hard work that went into this. WRAL, Art Explosion, our city staff. I think this is going to be hugely successful and a great way to shine a light, no pun intended, on the park and get new people there from throughout the city, let them know what we have to offer. So with that, if we could have an update.
Great. Joey, I'll bring up the slides if you want to lead the discussion.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. So last night was our very first Nights of Lights event. We had a preview night that included staff from the city of Raleigh, WRAL. We also invited folks from Wake County Public Schools, Wake Med, and lots of different other organizations to join us at the event. And overall, it was really successful. As with any event from a first night, we have some things that we'll work to clean up today, but overall, it was a great experience for everyone. So just as a reminder, that was the map for the event that folks are entering off of Western Boulevard and driving the 1.3 mile route through the park and exiting on Lake Willow Road. Just a couple other updates related to Nights of Lights. Kate, you can go to the next slide. So some data as of Friday afternoon. At that time, we had sold 41,800 vehicle tickets for the event over the course of the nights. Looking at some numbers this morning, we're up closer to 43,000 vehicle tickets at this point. Really excited to share. We've also provided 5,351 comp tickets to different community organizations across the Triangle area. So these are different organizations that we identified through an outreach process that we provide tickets to that were distributed across the nights of the events. And we're so excited about welcoming those groups to the event throughout these nights. So specifically, but before Christmas, those nights have been extremely extremely popular, sorry. And all the available time slots for those nights are sold out. After Christmas now, with those time slots before Christmas being sold out, we're seeing those tickets sell out very quickly as well. One of the things we worked through last week was the impact on the governor's stay-at-home order on Nights of Lights. And as we shared some information out to be in alignment with the stay-at-home order, all of the tickets at 9:30, 10, and 10:30 were canceled, and all of those ticket holders were provided refunds. As you can see, out of the 41,800 tickets at that time, it only affected 1,274 ticket holders. So as we learned with any of these types of events, folks in Raleigh, they wanted to do their events and then go home. So we didn't have a lot of people that were at those late ticket windows anyway. We're happy to report that all of those ticket holders in those late windows have been refunded, and we've worked through any sort of rescheduling with those folks as we could do so in the availability. And also working with WRAL, we were able to add a few additional time slots tonight, actually Tuesday night, to be able to help accommodate some of those folks that unfortunately had to have their tickets canceled because of the stay-at-home. But luckily, we've worked with all of those folks to work through those pieces. So
Joey, this is Jim. How did the traffic flow go?
The traffic flow went well. Last night we found that around the peak time was between 6:30 and 7:30. We found folks were kind of when they joined the traffic flow on Western Boulevard until the time we scanned their ticket. That was an average of between 20 and 30 minutes, just depending on the peak. And then we found the average time it took people to drive through the route itself was between about 15 and 18 minutes. So in working with our partners at RPD, they reported that the flow on Western Boulevard went really well, and there weren't any major issues with that. So, and these were some of the pictures that we took on some of the test nights, just so you can see some of the light displays that you'll see. But I know folks like Shauna, who experienced the event last night, got to see the whole event. So we're just really excited about how everything's come together. And overwhelmingly last night, we heard great feedback from the folks that attended the event. And we're excited to continue to welcome folks into the park for this event over the next 2 weeks. And I can take any questions about Nights of Lights.
Joey, I have one question. Are we doing any cross-promotion activity with downtown? We have the tree up, the menorah up, and also illuminate. I was just wondering if we are, when people are coming through if we're telling them, hey, don't forget to stop downtown and, take a look at the tree or whatnot. Just want to know if we're doing any of that.
I mean, I was coordinating kind of from the beginning with Bill King, just with the downtown coordination. We haven't directly done anything like that, but that's definitely something we can look at to see if we can share some of that information with folks that are visiting the event.
Okay, that could be a win-win.
Absolutely. We can definitely take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Kelly, I have a question. How much of is there any profit that's come to the Parks Department from this event?
Yes. So as part of the agreement, profits are being split between the park that will come back and just benefit operational and programmatic items in the park, and then also be held for potential future year investment, depending on how we evaluate how the event goes this year, and if there's a desire to do it in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And let's clarify, that's if there is profit, because there's a significant upfront investment this year.
That's
So
correct. Okay, that's
that
a good clarification. Yes, assuming there is profit from the event.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see that. Thanks.
okay. Do we have any additional questions? Okay, then we are ready to go to the next item. Thank you, Joey, for the update. Great
I
work.
just want to, Joey has put so much work and effort in this, along with his partner Heather at WRAL, and I just want to give them both a huge shout out. So it's day one of a number of days ahead, but they've done a great job getting us to this point.
Just for you all, I wore my Knights of Lights gear this morning. I don't know if you can see that in my camera. So
We can, thank you.
So, Mayor, this is Jim.
Yes,
I'm worried about Nights of Lights next year because my granddaughter Frances, who lives next door, wants to put all the lights in her front yard. So it's going to be a problem next year.
well, I'm going to leave it up to you to manage Francis, okay?
Okay.
Not Joey.
Right.
He's got his hands full, but I'm glad she's that excited. That's a good thing. Yeah, and I do think we have a new tradition, so this is going to be pretty awesome. Thanks, everyone. Next, we have our 2021 meeting schedule.
So just as a reminder, we will be sending out all of the schedulers for 2021, and we're not changing the meeting schedule, so it will be the fourth Tuesday of every month. Here you see the dates, but just know over the next week or so, you'll receive all the schedulers for 2021. And we're going to just double check this with the mayor's office and mayor or council member Branch's office to make sure all these dates still work before sending those out. So fourth Tuesday of every month. And yeah, this is our last one of 2020. So here we go into 2021.
Any questions on for Kate? Okay, next we have Plaza and Play project discussion and update.
So I'll turn it over to Grayson, and she will walk us through and introduce the MVVA team.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having us. It's good to be back again. We have a few updates that are behind the scenes, if you will, for the design. So first is Healing Transitions. So they are in the process of getting their site plan review approval for their future expansion. When they started their process, it was a good bit ahead of the Plaza and Play project. But now they are wrapping up their site plan approval, and we are getting into design. So we've been meeting with them pretty regularly on coordinating that the two projects line up together. So I think we're making good progress on that and have found a way to keep their process going and not hold them up. And then next is DHHS. So if you recall from the previous design, The Plaza and Play does start to have some impacts on some of their existing use areas. So Kate Pierce and I met with them last week, talking about these potential impacts and how we would accommodate them. We felt like this was well received, so we're going to continue this conversation with them. The EDGE study is cruising along as well. They anticipate early next year to have their first document for review, which is their issues and opportunities report. And they also have some a survey out right now and some public meetings coming up as well. Lake Wheeler Road. So we have had several meetings within the city with transportation. We also met with VHB regarding the NCDOT access study that was started during the master plan process. So Lake Wheeler Road is our conversations with all these entities are lining us up for how the anticipated expansion of the road could impact the park so that we are well suited to accommodate those future changes with the design. And then finally, the transmission line. So this ties back around to Lake Wheeler Road some too, in that there are some transportation construction divisions that have experience with transmission line work and are helping us to line ourselves up for continued discussions with Duke Energy. So while these things may not show up in the design, they are very important for our progress, and we have been working pretty hard on those things. Does anyone have any questions with that before we move on to MVVA for a design update? Okay. All right, well, with that, I will turn it over to MVVA, and they have a design update for you. It's moving along. It's getting pretty exciting to see these things start to come to fruition.
Hillary, are you going to kick me off, or I'm just starting?
I can.
Okay.
Not much to really say here, but
Okay.
yeah, we're excited to share some progress since we met with you all last month, and Matt is going to take us through that now.
That was great. All right. Yeah, this is the meeting that we kind of just wanted to not let you guys go into Christmas without hearing anything about the design. So, because your next meeting is until the 4th Tuesday of January. So this is just for fun as much as it is anything else, but also for feedback, of course, which is also fun. Next, please. So there we are. Next, please. So one of the things that we did, which I think is great for the project, will be challenging for us with our budget, but we will overcome the challenge. Is we've expanded and adjusted the limit of the project to jump up to the northeast here, as you can see, along Lake Wheeler Road, and really connect our project to the Grove in a nice way. So we really kind of co-opt that whole existing park in a way to our project and get a nicer balance of landscape types. And I think it's a great move. It does put 6 more acres into the scope in a way, in less impact way, but still important challenge. And we're ready to work on that and meet that.
Also, some of the reason for this came out of an understanding of the Duke Energy easement and Lake Wheeler easement that Grayson just went through. Just wanted to suggest that, which takes about, is it 3 acres out of the original footprint on the left?
That's right, that yellow slice across the bottom there. And did you add that exclamation point for me? All right.
It never hurts.
All right. So as you can see here, from November till December, you can see evolution of the plan, and we'll go through all of this, so don't worry about trying to memorize everything right now. But what I just want to say is it's an ongoing process. So everything is, there's a lot of ideas that you can see are continuing to evolve, but at the same time, and so therefore, I wouldn't say anything has really come to a kind of material fruition, but the ideas are there, and we're kind of working out the best kind of manifestation of each one, I think, is really how you could think about it. The big thing you can see between these two plans is our kind of our water, what was the water mountain in the plan, earlier plan, was on the south side of the plaza, and we flipped it around to the north side of the plaza, and I'll explain the meaning of that. But that's sort of one of the big important things. And then we're just kind of working out things in more detail, all the different parts, and I'll go through those with you. So this is just giving you a view of the whole thing along Lake Wheeler Road. We've been looking at all the different parts. Let's go ahead, Hillary. So this is just highlighting the different pieces, and you know what the early part of the design, you really want to make sure you have all the elements that are needed to kind of that satisfy, that will give a well-rounded thing. And we really, have had this theme for the whole master plan of having something for everyone, and this is almost a microcosm of the master plan in a way. And we can't literally have something for every single thing that everyone wants in a whole 300-acre park, but we could have a lot of things here, and we've worked hard at incorporating many different aspects, and so we'll go through and talk about some of that. This just kind of zones it a little bit to break it down into types of landscape. So the yellow is sort of the entry zone, and is all along Lake Wheeler Road and parking. Then there's this light blue kind of, you could almost think of it as a series of gardens with different characters that have different programs in them, and they wrap around the space and have a lot of opportunity for horticulture mixed with programming and different kinds of horticulture. Then up through the middle is this very important kind of purple civic axis that really connects the plaza and the entry and the grand stair to the grove and to the distant views of downtown, and kind of it becomes a kind of an anchoring spine through the whole middle of the scheme. And then the pink is the kind of more overtly play-oriented aspects of the project. So we'll go through each one now. So entry landscape is yellow. We talked to you early on in another special session about our desire to come up with a scheme that allowed for the project to exist in various states of road development. So Lake Wheeler Road full expansion is entirely anticipated in the design. It won't disrupt anything when it finally happens, but also the project will work with it as is as well. Power lines can stay where they are for now, and then hopefully we're going to move them to a more optimized location, but both of those will not impact the design, as sort of our insurance policy there. Parking, we've been working on coming in what will be probably a shared entrance with Healing Transitions and into our parking, and we've been working very hard at ways of weaving the parking lanes into the landscape there, retaining a good number of the big trees that are in that spot. That's a great spot. And then this is an entry into the park. This is a major vehicular entry into the park, and so that will be there. Other major entry points. And I just say in that yellow landscape, I'll talk more about that. But materially, we have a lot of openness there that's required under the power lines. Beautiful opportunity for native flowers and things like that. That will be a beautiful, bright invitation. These two yellow lines kind of indicate these kind of circulation axes that anchor and hold the design together with the fountain in the middle. And these entry points for different modes of arrival here with vehicular mode and pedestrian mode. And then we have also bicycle drop-off as bicycle arrival mode as well. So we're thinking through all of that. Our Thank you, Hillary. So our multi-use path that is eventually going to connect Walnut Creek and Rocky Branch will connect through this site and then become part of the Lake Wheeler easement as that is expanded. So you can see there's multiple ways of getting to this site. So you won't only be coming in the Dell Adams entrance. Thanks, please. Next, please. That's good. Oh, yeah, I forgot I had this slide also. So this is our Piedmont Prairie opportunity. You know, the Native Americans maintained a lot of open landscape with fire. And so there was a beautiful kind of open prairie savanna landscape that was a native landscape here, also part of the longleaf pine landscape as well. So we want to kind of start to make opportunities for that all along here. And this is a great way of kind of creating this presence along Lake Wheeler Road. This is that Piedmont Prairie. This is kind of interesting historic reference to it as a grand savanna. Savanna is a landscape type that's got a lot of beautiful open flowering meadows and large trees in it. Almost like the Grove, but in the mown sense, the Grove is like that now, somewhat like a savanna. So Lake Wheeler Road entrance now, Lake Wheeler, it's got a good opportunity for this with the openness that's there and the big trees that are there that we will really fight hard to try to maintain and not have fall under the axe of the power lines. And so this is capturing that concept. So it is a prairie, open landscape, savanna landscape, but then, you know, with paths and entrances coming through and ways to get in and enjoy it and look at it like that. So then shifting to the kind of this kind of civic axis that runs through the middle of the scheme, there's several elements that are new elements that are anchoring that experience. The first is this kind of grand stair that will connect the kind of upper terrace that the brown building is at. And it will be about between 10 and 15 feet higher than the plaza. So we'll give you this great overlook onto the plaza. We could build this in. This could be a great place to go up and down, but also like our stair here in Brooklyn Bridge Park, just a place for public assembly as well. Next, please. And, you know, so at moments it could be full of people watching things. It could be just a great theatrical. It's kind of built-in kind of theatrical aspect to the space. So even just the theater of people moving around in the plaza and doing their regular things will become sort of something to watch. And that's always sort of a fun aspect of public landscapes. So that stair, which is to the left there, is then the next in the sequence of the civic landscapes. This is Fountain Plaza, and we are continuing to work on this. We have some big ideas here. We want to kind of start to find ways to bring trees into the plaza so it's not a baking hot plaza. That would be miserable in North Carolina summer, but also has plenty of hard pavement for activities and crowds. And this is our Bailey Plaza that we did at Cornell University. And you could see how an embracing grove of trees here starts to bring in and frame the space, but and directs people into the middle and will ultimately become a kind of shaded refuge on the edge. So we're looking at that theme. And then an idea is there's a playfulness to the plaza and the civic fountain as well. And aspects where water could come out of the pavement and then be turned off and become a performance space. That would be something we'd love to do. This is our Javits Plaza in New York. And so we can see the shade trees here that could also provide seating. We could have movable seating here, and we could also have permanent seating built in. And then, ta-da, the big moment is an idea of turning the fountain, so to speak, into a kind of architectural element that becomes a water wall or a waterfall. And this is a study model that I was working on in my personal shop, actually. But the idea is of taking stone and creating this kind of what will feel almost like a natural escarpment, very inspired by some North Carolina landscapes that we've gone to see. And we'll, of course, want to use native stone. One of our biggest issues will be some discipline in our stone use because it can run the bill up really quickly. And so we are finding a way to kind of really make a great moment with stone. I see Tansy is shaking her head. We'll find a way to really celebrate the native stone and water and play and activity. And then what would happen here, you see with the saran wrap coming over the middle here, the idea is to make some kind of waterfall, and that would be facing south. So the light will be reflecting off of that. And then an idea is that it will hit the pavement there, and maybe we could kind of amplify that with that kind of jetting out of the pavement as well. And so, we can create this kind of great theatrical moment, and you could then turn it off and it can just be a backdrop, almost like a theater backdrop as well. We're going to have to work on how the trees are placed in front of that so they don't block the view, but they give you great places to be. And that's all in trend. That's all in work, but you get the elements, the main idea there. Just off of the plaza, and where this will be exactly is something that we're working on, but we're working with the Hobgoods on our comfort station, and we have this idea of making a great integrating it, or they have this great idea of we had the idea of integrating in the landscape. They have a great idea of how to do that. Next, please. We want to make plenty of places for changing if you want to. If you get wet in a fountain, we have this idea of like a series of cabana-like bathrooms that open into a central space. And this is the plan that shows it sort of embedded in the landscape. You kind of go into it, and there's an open space in the middle that could be open to fresh air and natural light. And then all of these cabanas would kind of open into it. And it's inspired by neoclassical references. This is a wonderful Oculus idea painting from a Roman example. It's not going to be that regal, but it is kind of inspired by how wonderful that is. Next, please. And Patrick and his crew have been great, and they've been looking at garden history and the idea of this kind of folly in the landscape, and almost taking the idea of the object and almost turning it inside out, and it becomes this kind of internalized space built into the landscape. So that's a really exciting, and we'll be happy to report to you further on that as we develop that further. Then the plaza. So the plaza itself is really taking. Just go back for 1 second, Hillary. The plaza is taking advantage of this grade change that is on the site. So to the left, the site is higher, and then they actually graded it out level at one point to make the playing fields that were here. And we're actually pushing down the plaza a little bit more into the surface to get us better isolation and separation from Lake Wheeler, and also to create a more dramatic grade change between the levels. And then beautiful ways of kind of getting to it through the stairs, but also many other ways as well. And so this kind of shows how we're taking advantage of that, and this idea of bringing the trees into it. This is a rough sketch, just trying to start to think about the kind of spatial feel of how the stair would be there, and embraced by greenery on either side, and then trees that could create foreground elements and give depth to the view. We'd love to combine a kind of evergreen and deciduous trees here. One of the things we're looking at is using some of the native magnolia. If you look at the southern magnolia as they grow in the forest in North Carolina, they really have this beautiful open quality that's not so much that kind of dense ornamental meatball that you see at the shopping mall or whatever. So we'd love to really celebrate the native form of the tree. Next, please. And then the Grove lawn is our kind of connector, a piece that connects to the Grove, and it's this kind of linear space of open space that gives views through and connects to the Grove. So we're bringing the Grove, kind of remanufacturing a piece of the Grove and connecting it to the plaza, and we're getting this great kind of nexus of the two types there. And then to kind of connect programmatically and to really celebrate the view out to downtown, and to firmly embrace the Grove, we have this idea of the swing terrace that will create, and we'd love to do this big civic scale swing that you know, swings are great because, you know, you don't have to be a kid to be on a swing, even you won't even be embarrassed. And we could put swings for single people, all kinds of people. And also we'd love to look at some that hold whole groups of people. So we're looking at that, but that could be this kind of wonderful architectural element that then and then you sit on it and you look out at the view and the grove and everything like that. Back over now to the destination play area. And one of the things you can see is we've kind of made it bigger by swinging the water mountain around and also making the plaza kind of civic extension of that play. So it's sort of defined by this pink, but it's not really defined by this pink. It's actually bigger than this in a certain sense, right? So we'll go through the different parts here. We have a larger place where we're looking at constructing topography that's very inspired by North Carolina topography and the mountainscapes and the way the trees are and walkways and things like that. And that's, we're calling the North Carolina playground. A lot needs to be done on that before we're really ready to talk about details, but the theme is there. Then we have a nature play. There was a great support for nature play and really things that are very focusing on that. And then what happens, which is neat behind the waterfall, is there's a whole, we create a slope, and a slope is great for water when you want to play with the gravity of water running downhill. So we create this slope in it, and the idea is to make a kind of landscape integrated with water play. But, you know, not so much a kind of splash pad in any kind of traditional sense, but really a new invented type there. So we want to look at these play towers. What's great about the towers is they kind of double the amount of play per square foot that you get, because you can start to layer things vertically in space. You can make these aerial connections and walkways and so we get a lot out of a smaller footprint with them. We could do all kinds of challenges, you know, things that, you know, even older kids are going to find fun. It's not going to just be a playground where you kind of feel like it's just for, you know, 5-year-olds. It will be really challenging to all kinds of things. And it will have challenges for everyone of every kind of ability in it as well. Then the nature play is very probably inspired by the kind of use of natural materials and really kind of imaginative space and delving into kind of wonderful world where you're really folded into the landscape, taking advantage of way planting can bring a lot of variety and a lot of detail and a lot of sense of discovery to this kind of thing. That last was our playground in Brooklyn, and this is where we actually first did that integration of garden and landscape together. And this is a more recent project in Chicago, and you can see we made these groves of small kind of kid scale trees and then made ways for them to kind of find their way up through, and you could see sort of the sense of discovery even in the kids' faces as they're going up through here. Here we also used some trees that we salvaged from the site and turned them upside down and turned them into these sculptural objects in our Discovery Woodland that we did in Chicago. So we'll do something like that here. And this is an idea of, again, lots of natural materials, kind of getting up into the plants, using the plants to create all kinds of complexity and interest. And then the water play mountain is a whole idea of integrating water play into the landscape, way beyond your normal splash pad, like kind of with planting surrounding it, creating different levels, using natural materials, and also bringing in some imaginative play. The kids will all be getting a STEM lesson, but they won't know they're getting it. It's all about gravity and hydrodynamics and fluids moving through different dams and Archimedes screws and all of this. We call it a water lab sometimes, but it sounds nerdy. It's not really. They're learning, but they don't know. It's fun. And also great opportunity to just cool off, because you'll absolutely need that. But a choice. You don't have to go there and get soaked. You could just get your feet wet if you want, or you could go get your clothes wet if you want. We're looking at how the entrances will be, because that's an important thing in terms of, parents keeping track of their kids and wanting them, where they are and how to be aware of that. So now we'll look at this kind of series of spaces that are like a series of gardens with different kinds of program. You can see the Buffalo House Garden. We have something we're calling the Shade Grove, which is like the transition into the plaza. The entry garden up at the top of the stairs, the Overlook Garden, which could have a real woodland theme to it, and then the Picnic Grove Garden in a sense. Buffalo House, we've been getting great progress on that with Joe and his team, and one of the things that we're looking at is restoring the porches and some of the original fenestration. There were some funny windows that happened at one point in time. You can see at the top is the existing elevation. Hillary's pointing to a window that's odd. And the door was made modern instead of having the kind of old-fashioned double door. So we're kind of thinking about restoring those things, bringing the porch detailing back to it. As you go around to the other facade, at one point, a heating unit was used. The part of the porch space was used to put a heating unit in, and that was enclosed, so that could be opened back up and made. The porches are great because they're great for the public to use and sit on and look out, and hopefully parents and caregivers can hang out there while their kids are running around having fun, for instance. And so opening up these things as we go around the house. So it's quite buttoned up right now with porches that were taken over as interior spaces, and we were able to open those back up and make it much more outwardly focused building, which is appropriate for the park.
Real quick, can you pull your mic up a little bit? It's rubbing against your collar. And
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yep. Was that what you wanted to tell me, Grayson? Okay, great.
We're sharing a brain.
All right, good. I think I was fiddling with it at a, pre-Christmas nervousness. Okay, so, and then the Picnic Grove, which is really an interesting thing. We're having we're having a lot of different attempts at the layout of this, because we want to get it just right in terms of being comfortable, feeling approachable. That path there, that this showed how we want to make it very easy to get your cooler down to it from the parking lot. So that's what that is. That was what that yellow line is showing there. And we want to integrate it into trees with shade, but we don't want it to feel kind of nooked off and in little tiny rooms. And so we're thinking about its relationship to that main promenade path. There's something really fun about seeing people picnicking without actually picnicking yourself. There's like a voyeuristic thrill. So we'd like to do that as well. So we're working that all out. And we have like 300 different layouts of that in the office, and someday we'll settle on one. But stay tuned. Definitely has grills in it. We're still looking at incorporating some small yard sports like cornhole and other things, maybe horseshoes within the space if it works, just to add to that kind of fun, low-key quality. And then this is one of my most important slides to me. And I think to anyone in a leadership position, this is really, about how we're always thinking about how this is integrated into this stage 2, because you're all going to be just so excited about what this is when you see it, that you'll want to immediately move on to the next. And we've been thinking about that, connecting and how it's integrated into the master plan. We talked to you about this in some of our other sessions, how we have opportunity for expansion of play, how we have opportunity for expansion of gardens, how we'd love to incorporate the Brown building in as the park support building, and we really positioned that well in terms of the plan layout, and how that could work. That's the I-shaped building. And then, of course, there's opportunity for where all the parking can be expanded, because we have that built into the master plan. Thank God you guys hired a great firm to do a master plan for 2 years, because a lot of this stuff was worked out. And then our park loop is overlaid here as well. Remember the park loop, which is just kind of unifying promenade that goes through around the whole top of the hill. So that just gives you a little sense of how that's incorporated as well. With that, I think we're to the discussion part.
Oops. So Matt, it's Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
How are you?
Good.
Of course, I have to ask the same question, which is the buildings that we have no plan for that we'd love to get rid of. You have one as a supporting building for the park, that first building. Do you have any vision for what that space might be? I didn't see it on the potential expansion. It's so close there. Those two buildings on either side of the driveway in.
Right.
Do you see that as just more parking, or?
Really haven't been thinking about that at this point. I have to try to be somewhat disciplined about the scope of this project.
Oh, I know.
I've already talked a lot about what we want to do next and tried to make it really clear what is next, because we're all wanting everything in this thing. And there is a generous budget here, but it is finite, and public landscapes are, they cost money. So we are in a kind of, we have too many ideas right now, actually, just to be honest with you, Nancy. We have too many ideas. Pete, there's insiders on the team that know what I'm talking about, but we have too many ideas. We have to bring this thing into budget. We have too much stone in the job right now, for instance. We have to kind of be disciplined about that. So I haven't been thinking about that, honestly. I've been thinking about like how to get our phase one into alignment and make everybody happy so they could go home and relax on Christmas.
And you made a comment about the water mountain.
Yes.
I can't remember if you said new technology or new something about that.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'm just wondering about
yeah.
cost on that.
So this is an interesting thing. Water play is often thought of as a particular type of thing, either something to cool off in, or maybe like a water lab, which is pretty rare, but we've seen that, the kind of water chutes and ladders and things like that. What I'd like to do here, which is I think groundbreaking, is really fold that into the landscape and make imaginative play part of that as well. Imagine, and maybe we could bring some little houses into that thing and kind of play with the idea of like a mill town, or something that kind of starts to become more about other types of ways that you can engage kids' imagination, and will just be kind of beautiful and like landscape follies as well. And then that's not really been done. That it's sort of a category. People like I check that box, and I'm trying to hybridize categories. And there's a technical reason also why, and which is that water play is less restrictive in terms of really onerous play safety requirements. The water part of it is very onerous in terms of water quality. That's very, very strictly regulated. But in terms of some of the things that kind of get to be a little nutty in terms of fall zones and things like that, that's not so nuts with water play. So it's kind of a great opportunity for a new thing there. And we haven't done that yet. So
okay. So when you said new, you were talking about new as in the type of play, not new as in the technology that drives the pumps or.
No, we have what we've done here is we've kind of really built on our kind of brain trust on this. What we've done is we've taken the people who are engineers, but also who have constructed water play for us in other projects. So in other words, they've like built out things and they've learned from all the lessons that you can, because there's always lessons, especially with something technological like that. And we made them part of the team. So it's sort of like, oh, well, you had something to say about that. Well, I'll make you in charge. And that's what we've done here. And they're really, really advanced people in terms of that. And so we're very excited about drilling down on all of the challenges of water play.
So I guess maybe the part of the question is that can you still envision that as something that the kids could interact and play with if it breaks? You know, if the pumps break and we're trying to get them fixed and the water's not flowing, is it still a feature that they can play on, or is it something they're just going to walk by because the water's not working?
But that is a little bit what I'm trying to do, you know, because there might be some months when you turn it off too, and it might just be a fun thing to get into and walk around and enjoy, play with on an imaginative play level. That is something that we're trying to do. But also we will look at it. This is something we don't want like a catastrophic failure. You know, I think it's going to be broken up into cells so that there'll be different kind of sub-cells to it. So if something is not working, you know, the whole thing isn't need to be shut off. So we'll be looking at that as well.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions of Matt?
Yeah.
Matt, I have one question for you. You're talking about stone and being, you know, potentially over budget. Have we thought at all about what kind of local stone we would be using and whether we could seek a donation? Maybe a company like Martin Marietta, for instance, would want to do their gift in stone and save us a ton of money. I mean, I don't know if that's feasible or not, because I don't know if they have the kind of stone that would match with this. But I'm just wondering, when we're looking at stone, if we could target some of the materials that local quarries may have that could be a contribution.
Well, Mayor, you're hitting the nail on the head in terms of affordability. What happens with this is we go, and we haven't been able to do this with pandemic and all this other stuff, but we will go out and we will visit all the quarries, and we have not this, we don't want to decide something on like for an aesthetic reason, and it turns out it costs 3 times as much, right?
Right.
So we are educating ourselves in terms of all the different types of stone. There is great stone in North Carolina, as famous across the country. So that's good. But one of the things that we've learned, just as a kind of an example, is many times quarries are geared up to do something, make facing stone or make curbing or something. And then they make all this other stuff that is basically waste to them. And we wind up going, we're like, well, what's that pile of stuff? They're like, oh, that's just our spoils pile. And we're like, oh, well, I kind of like that. So that's a possibility. I'm not promising that yet, but there is a possibility that we could find ways of, looking into the process of the way the stone is worked and things like that can save a lot of money. So, but we are in research mode. We are not down any particular lane right now. Anybody that has any connections, any ideas, any quarries in their families, we want to know about it, because we are in that research mode right now, and we will try to achieve the most per dollar that we can with the stone, and looking at different methods and constructions. So it's not, I answered your question, but not exactly. I know we've also looked into some suppliers that have, maybe Hillary or Kate or somebody could answer that a little bit.
We actually have Max on the line who did that research, looking into local granite.
Right, but didn't Adrian, didn't you talk to somebody at one point during the master plan?
Yeah, we both did. There was a connection via the Conservancy to, I believe it was some folks with Martin Marietta that we spoke with. That'd be a while ago now, but it was a good positive talk, and yeah, we got a good review about their facilities in the region and the stone that they have available.
Right.
but we left it there. It was early, just kind of fact-finding mission.
Right.
Well, my guess is there are people on this call who can help with that. The second question I had related, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, Matt. This expansion that you've done, site expansion, you added 6 more acres. Is that, did I hear you right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I know that was a concern of some of the Conservancy members. So that brings us up to how many acres total?
18, right, guys?
Yeah, 18 and a half to be precise.
Great, thank you.
But 3
Right.
acres of that goes to the Duke Energy and Lake
Right.
Wheeler improvements. So really it's 18.5 minus 3 is our total.
Well, it's
design area.
still there. It's still 3 acres that exists. It's not highly programmable anymore. Now it's going to be mostly
Piedmont Prairie.
Piedmont Prairie, right? But that still costs money per square foot. Just a lot. Hopefully a lot. Well, not hopefully. Absolutely will be a lot less per square foot.
Okay.
And I want to add, I think one thing that's so great about this extension towards the Grove is that we're connecting to a landscape that is really amazing as it is right now. And so I feel like this few additional acres towards the Grove area is really buying us a lot more acreage with the project and connecting that with the open event lawn that they're proposing. And I think that it's we're going to be getting a lot of bang for our buck by those few extra acres.
Right. That's absolutely right, Grace. And we actually I should just quickly remeasure the Grove so we can say, and we're adding this, effectively, we're adding this extra 50 acres or whatever it is. It's a lot, first of all. Second of all, we take full credit for that landscape when it's done.
Well, there's that too.
I have a question. Matt, can you tell us how far down the road before we start making decisions regarding costs? You know, you're saying you're going to give us everything that you can within the budget, but when do those decisions have to be made? How far down the road?
We are working on that. Adrian is certainly better at
Right
answering
now.
that question than me.
Every day.
It's a really good question, Orage. So as of right now, MVVA is working with a sub-consultant to us who's a cost estimator. We're working really closely with them last week, this week, and the weeks prior to really assign accurate unit costs for particular items and then understand how many of each of those things we think we need in the Plaza Play project to really deliver something great. So the answer, Orage, is right this week. We're interrogating a lot of those numbers, seeing where we can make some trade-offs between the quantities of things and basically the quality of them, whether they're custom, whether they're standard, and then come back this week with some more information back to the core team about how that'll all work together. So,
I mean, I'll just say, as a person who floats a little bit higher above this, and Adrian does with her spreadsheets and all of that, we're exactly where we should be. We asked for too much because we were really interrogating all of the costs and also being very conservative. We had probably 3 times the amount of some of the things that we actually need in there, because it's just, you put the costs in and then you kind of weed them back out again. It's just a process. And for instance, when you're estimating planting, you can get finer and finer grained on how you do that, for instance. And like, for instance, Adrian and the engineers have discovered that if we raise the plaza 18 inches, we don't need to do a whole infrastructural solution that we would otherwise need to do, which, is just underground costs. And so, we're kind of working through these things with our consultants. But I would say there's nothing to worry about, that we're exactly where we should be at this point. We'll get to where we need to be when we need to be there.
Well, that's great news because what you are presenting is getting us all excited. Don't let us down.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Matt, is there any way that, I don't know if you all do this, but is there any way to estimate like the maintenance costs of any of this?
Nancy, you always bring up the good points.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm serious. That is a
He's
good
serious.
point. I am very serious. That is, you know, we are boorish in the way we talk about that. I think some people think. It's, you know, Michael's made an analogy of having a baby and putting it in the attic. You can't do that. You have to take care of it.
Okay.
You have to take care of it. And so we
Yeah.
will, you know, we are about to, we have a consultant on that. We have a world-renowned consultant on that. And we are breaking down, as we're refining the design, we're breaking down the man hours, everything takes to take care of, you know, by type, number of trees, you know, pruning per year, everything. And so that is going to be worked out. It's not yet, we will have a number in that, and that will be a very important thing to get our heads around. I think we're going to be late winter on that.
Okay.
Yeah, end of January. We'll have a
Early late
proposal.
winter, early mid.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'll add that we're working on making that pretty comprehensive. So not only those that are out there maintaining the site, but what will be the level of activation and programming, and making sure that we have the right staff to do that, the right equipment, so that when this site opens, that it is running like a well-oiled machine. My Southern almost came out there when I went to say oil, so pardon me on that.
Grayson, do you want to give the group a CMAR update real quick?
Yes, I would be very happy to. So over the last several months, we have been, we meaning the Dix Park team, has been working closely with construction management within engineering services on selection for construction management at risk for this project. And so earlier this month, the contract with Balfour Beatty for that was approved. I believe it is in routing process. And so our plan is that they will come on board and get up and running with all the parks, construction management, Michael Van Valkenburg Associates next month, so that we are working hand in hand with them on the design, and they are helping us with constructability and cost and all the great things that a CMAR firm can do. So we're really excited that is on the edge of happening, and will certainly keep us busy and making an even better product as we design the Plaza Play.
Isn't that a joint venture with Balfour and Holt Brothers?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay, then I guess it's time to go around the table. Anyone have an issue that they would like to bring up? Jim, you're being quiet today. What's up with that?
No, I mean, my response is, wow, Matt. I mean, that's terrific.
He's still reveling in the success of the lights.
I'm still thinking about that's terrific. No, great. That's, if we're not careful, we're gonna have us a park.
I know, we got to keep our guard up.
Yeah, no. Thank you for that.
Carlton, you've been quiet today too. You're echoing.
I'm echoing Jim's wow.
That was awesome.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else at this time to discuss, we will meet in January. I wish everybody a happy holiday and enjoy Nights of Lights, and also enjoy having people probably see Dix Park for the first time.
Yeah.
That's an important piece of promoting the future, having people dream about what could be there, and building support for the bond. So thank you, everyone, for your hard work on this. And we will all be talking on January, what is it, 24th, 28th?
24th, I think it was.
Okay. 20, okay, we'll split the baby
Got it wrong.
in between. Yeah, all right, thanks,
Thanks.
Arch.
Bye.
But everybody, thank you again, and I think that this is great progress. Have a great holiday.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye.